the mandate of our scope of our center is not only related to maritime law or also law of the sea, but altogether we understand that there is only one sea in the world which connects all the nations to each other. If, for example, if I ask one of my students stating that whether Turkey has got neighboring status with Panama, they will all say that no. But in fact, because of the sea, we've got a border with it. And there is no, for example, customs duties, customs factors up to the time our ship arrives at the Panamanian port, or just the vice versa. So, and the language of the sea should be unique, at the same time uniform. Of course, it's quite difficult to reach the uniformity, but in the end, thanks to all the centers or the universities together with themselves, they achieve the unification and they try to organize all these activities together jointly. Is everything is all right, no? Okay. So then I'll carry out again. So this is the one. This is on, no? How could I make it again? Full screen. So is it working?
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Here the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I will have with the guy. It's coming to.
He's coming. So I will be waiting for a couple of minutes. Okay. Sorry for that. It's a technical issue. Any questions anyway? I mean, if you would like to learn anything about our center or if you wish to do so. Otherwise, I'm waiting for the PowerPoint slides to go on.
Is this your first time in Panama? Was it a question of our country, and especially our campus, just beside the Panama Canal?
I mean, the Panama Canal we are going to visit, I believe, today. But the main reason is to arrive at Panama. Just because of our visit to Jamaica, there is an International Seabed Authority in Jamaica, and we carry out one of the research projects on the coastal states' rights on the, let's say, economic resources or energy resources in the World Seas, which includes the area. The area starts when the continental shelf ends. So the area is under the responsibility of the International Seabed Authority, based in Jamaica right now. And I'm going to talk about a little bit. Turkey is not a contracting state to the UNCLOS. So if you would like to raise the word in the International Seabed Authority, you need to be a member of the ISA, which means that you need to be contracting states to the UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. So this is a kind of dilemma because the resources in the area belongs to the common heritage of all mankind. So what the meaning of mankind? Does it mean that the coastal states needs to be the member of or the contracting states to the UNCLOS to become a mankind? From our point of view, not. So everybody is the mankind, whatever in the world. So there is no difficulty in Turkey to accept the provisions relating to area of the authority right now. So we must find out a solution because there is two options in this. All the economies in future are going to be based on the area, all the sources in the area in future. We reached the sky, but we may not reach yet the minerals in the area, but we'll soon. All the chips we have in our telephone or credit cards, they need these minerals in the area. So some of the countries are there to do some kind of mineral activities with the technology. Some of the countries are, because of their common heritage of mankind, they'll get their profit from the minerals. So this is the two things, and we wanted Turkey to be part of this. So this is why we were in Jamaica. Now we will be going. Panama is just in between the United States and Jamaica, and we thought that it's going to be good for us because we've got a cooperation protocol with the university, and we will need to discuss the possible joint activities in future. So this is a good way for us. From here we will go to Costa Rica. We've got a cooperation protocol with the University for Peace, and then United Nations, and then Washington, and then we'll be going back our home. Is everything is fine right now? Is it? No.
So after Jamaica and Panama, you're planning to visit Costa Rica?
Yeah, that's right, Costa Rica. And then Washington, there is a DOLOS, in the Washington Division for the Law of the Sea. And then we'll be having a quick chat there. And then we'll find an opportunity to visit the Stockton Center for International Law in Stockton in the United States. And Washington to see one of our good friends, Myron Norquist, professor, who's very well-known professor in the world. So we'll be back to our country. But anyway, I mean, as I stated to your rector and the others, we'll be organizing 3 international conferences, 2 of which are in Turkey. One of them is going to be in Montenegro this year. I hope that this university is going to be participating university and can fly its own flag with our brochure. So it's going to be a good opportunity for us to do something together. And then we'll think about what can we do, especially regarding to your mandate. I mean, especially because you deal with especially maritime issues, as I understood, but at the same time you deal with the biodiversity issues as well. So it's a good thing. Right. There are so many current issues. I'm not going to touch upon this. There are, for example, in IMO, there is the unmanned ship, for example, is one of the good topic for research or studies. Another one is the protection of biodiversity in the world right now. It's going very well. Another one is the climate change effects on the sea rise. So these are the main topics, current issues right now in the world. But anyway, I mean, I'm going to talk about our current issues in our region.
And after your presentation, we are planning you to join us on a tour to our laboratory, specialized
it's going to be good for us, I mean.
And simulators, navigation. So
for
you
example,
will have a clear idea of what we do.
During my trip, for example, I was going to ask the authorities, including you, what would happen, I mean, the closure of Suez Canal would happen in Panama. What would happen? I mean, what would be your interest in this? I don't know whether there is going to be any claims towards the authority in Egypt, or especially to the evergreen ship right now. But there's always a possibility. If the Panama Canal is going to be closed down for a couple of days, it's going to be, I mean, difficult time for especially the United States and all other countries around the region. So this is another topic we need to think about that. I mean, what would happen for the benefit of Panama on all the passage? Okay, so then what can I do? I'll go on with my presentation anyway, but it's quite difficult. Is there any possibility to directly to...
No. It's another system, so we need I don't don't know the guys who say we can take like 10 minutes and it's too much. We have to go to another point, another activity.
Okay, there are so many, anyway, there are so many slides, and it's good to be with the slides to present something. So there are some maps and so on and other things. So it's quite difficult for me to express my opinions about this subject. But anyway, I'll carry out them. I'm going to talk about the legal challenges or legal boundary dispute in the Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean regions, and the possible solutions for peace in this context. Of course, I'm going to approach the matter from the Turkish perspective, but I'm trying to be not to be an advocate, just to state that there are some disputes. I just would like to show there are disputes and the possible solutions there could be, what could be. The first dispute is in the scope of maritime border issues, the scope. And in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, there is no such a dispute, unlike the Aegean Sea right now. In the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, everybody knows that there is one dispute, and which is the dispute in the delimitation of areas within the state jurisdiction, like the exclusive economic zone or continental shelf. So there is a dispute between the states, especially Turkey with other states, especially on the delimitation of continental shelf and exclusive economic zone. But coming to agency, the approaches of Turkey and Greece are not the same. We believe that there are more than one dispute. Greece believes that there is just one dispute on the delimitation of continental shelf. So there is a need to agree to disagree. So if I say that we have got a dispute, so there is a dispute, I mean, it needs to be settled. So Greece approach is not the same as ours. As I am going to explain, there are more than one dispute in the agency right now. Again, there is a dispute in the applicable law to the maritime border issues. As a lecturer, as an academic, I trust that the UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea in 1982, is the most important instrument unifying the legal regime of the oceans. It's very important. It's a kind of, it's a part of constitution of law of the sea. There are some weaknesses, of course. We see that it does not say anything about the protection of biodiversity. But anyway, I mean, it's something, it's very crucial element. But Turkey is not a party to that convention. And Greece believes that this is the only source and which could be applied to Turkey. But we are not a party. According to the principle of pacta sunt servanda, or according to Article 38 of the Statute of the International Court of Justice, the convention could only bind the parties. Turkey is not a party. There are, because the reasons, there are almost 320 articles in the convention. But we had a reservation just to 3 articles. Just to 3. One of them is the Article 3 on the breadth of the territorial sea, Article 33 on the contiguous zone, Article 121 on the regime of islands. So there are 3 articles. We could go with other 317 articles if we could have got a chance to make a reservation on these 3 articles. But there is a ban. We are not allowed to make a reservation. This was the decision during the meeting of the convention. It was thought that in order to achieve the unification worldwide, So there should be no right for the contracting states to reserve any articles. So then I can see that the UNCLOS is a good approach or good achievement of the unification from the ocean basis. So the regime of oceans are unified, but not the regime of the particular seas, including their own features, own special features, like the agency, like the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. The Eastern Mediterranean Sea or the agency are not the same as Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean. So we thought that we cannot be a party to the UNCLOS, but just because of these three articles. Otherwise, we trust the other articles of the UNCLOS as a customary international law. We are the persistent objector of the UNCLOS, but because of these three articles, which means that no one can state Turkey to have accepted the convention, the provisions of the convention as a customary law. No, we cannot be overlooked like that because we are the persistent objector. We are not party, but at the same time, we are the persistent objector. Whenever we see the wording UNCLOS, any diplomat in Turkey or any other authority, then they raise their hands to say that we are not a party to UNCLOS. It's not good for Turkey, I know, but this is the only way we can deal with the issue. So just because of these three articles, as I stated, we are not a party. But anyway, we are not bound with the UNCLOS, but we are bound with the customary international law, which exists before the UNCLOS accepted or adopted in 1982 regarding these three articles. There is a dispute in the means to be used for the settlement. Of course, there is always a kind of obligation, international obligation on every state to cooperate with each other to settle your disputes, either by an agreement or by a court decision. But when we talk about the sovereignty issues or sovereign issues, it's not very easy because the public understanding of the both states, like for example, the Greece, Turkey, or Egypt, or Israel, it's quite difficult to raise or reduce the understanding of the common people. Some is political issue. So, regarding the agency, there is now almost 62 rounds of exploratory and consultative talks. But in vain, there were, as I stated, 62 rounds of meeting between both countries, both states. But there is nothing having been achieved yet. So we need to figure out what kind of cooperation we could do more. Our President Erdogan invited all the countries in the region to sit in a conference. It's a very good invitation. It's sourced by international law, but none of the countries in the region accepted this invitation yet. So this is a kind of, again, another dilemma. Okay, it's coming. So, okay, there is an obligation on the contracting any states to act in good faith. Not only states, but all the peoples around here. I mean, we are here to act in good faith. So, this is the Greek and Greek Cypriot approach to our problem, our dispute. comparing the size of the coastal land of the countries, Turkey is the land country regarding the coast in all around the region. But we were stuck in this red area because of one of the academic map was drawn by one of the universities in Spain, Sevilla University. And this map, because of this map, which was accepted by Greece and the European Union in an unofficial way, and because of this map, Turkey has got a very limited sea area, maritime area in the region, comparing to its coastal land to other countries. Maybe you cannot see here. There is a very small island of Greece, very, very small, 4 kilometers square, which we call it Maze, the island of Maze. And because of this Maze, we can see that Turkey is not granted any maritime areas in the region. Of course, I mean, on a reciprocal matter, Turkey has got their own map, which has already been introduced to the United Nations. This is the continental shelf of Turkey in the Eastern Mediterranean, which of course Turkish claim. There is a Greek claim, and there are gray areas, disputable areas, needs to be settled, needs to be solved either by an agreement or a court decision. Of course, just because of this map, and the Turkish academia had a blue homeland doctrine in Turkey. Everything has just started just because of the unilateral actions taken by either by Greece or by the Greek side of Cyprus. There is an obligation not to jeopardize or hamper the final state of disputes, and there is an agreement in between Turkey and Greece, Berne Agreement, and we cannot do any research activities in the agency according to this agreement. But there is no such kind of agreement in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. Sometimes I'm scared of having a difficulty with our neighboring states because of the sovereign nature of the dispute. So sometimes you can see the warships, navy ships, all around the seas. The seas should be used in peace and peaceful manners. So sometimes it's quite difficult to reach that one. And there is again a dispute in the equitable factors affecting the delimitation of maritime areas within national jurisdiction. According to Greece, they believe that only equitable solution is the equity. So this is one of the books which refers that all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Is the fact. So we are not all equals. We've got special features. Everybody, I mean, comparing to others. And when we come to the especially agency and Eastern Mediterranean Sea, they are in fact closed or semi-closed seas, which means that the cooperation should be achieved there between the states, and the special factors should be taken into consideration, as the court says. So the courts are going to refer the samples, but International Court of Justice and the ITLOS uses the 3 stages of settlement. The first stage, equidistance, then equidistance from the mainland, not from the islands. If you are an island country, of course, it's going to be considered. But if you are not an island country, the equidistance starts from the mainland. And then relevant factors, there are so many relevant factors, but especially the coastal size. Coastal size of country is the most important factor right now. And then the proportionality. This is the way the Court of International Court of Justice and it was normally base their cases, base their judgments of cases. What about the role of islands on the delimitation of maritime areas within national jurisdiction? We are not in the same position as the unclosed states because, as I told you, we are against Article 121 of the UNCLOS. Because, especially, entitlement of islands to the maritime areas and effects of islands in the delimitation are not the same. I'll be saying a few words on the entitlement of islands. And we believe that since we believe the law before 1982, at that time, especially rocks or islets sustaining no human habitation cannot be considered as islands. Only the people living in one of the islands, this island could be interpreted as a legal island. From this is our understanding. But 121 of UNCLOS says that all the islands, whatever they are, rocks or islets, are entitled to certain maritime areas, especially territorial waters. In our case, no. So, again, disputing entitlement of islands of the mainland countries to maritime jurisdiction areas. For the territorial waters, as I stated, the islands are entitled within the definition could have this territorial waters, but not the exclusive economic zone or continental shelf. But coming to the UNCLOS, it states that the islands with human habitation could have continental shelf and at the same time exclusive economic zone. It's quite difficult for Turkey to accept this one because up to the year of 1982, we were against that. We had a reservation because there are so many islands, which I'm going to show you, of Greece in the region. We are very close distance to Turkey. And if we consider all these islands having continental shelf or exclusive economic zone, Turkey has no way to go to the sea. So this is unacceptable to Turkey. This regime was there. Can you have any problem? Because you have got an ocean access from the both sides. So there is no difficulty for you to accept this provision in the UNCLOS. But coming to Turkish side, and this is a new rule we are talking about, and the new rule would, of course, reduce the capacity of Turkey to approach to the sea, high sea. So we have got a reservation on this issue. There is a dispute in the agency on the sovereignty over islands, islets, and rocks as affecting the maritime delimitation. I must say that in 1996, we were just going into war with Greece, just because of one of the rocks, very close distance to Turkey, which is called Kardar crisis. It's unbelievable because of rock, there is no one on it, and we were going into war. So it's unacceptable for anybody in the world. So anyway, I mean, we decided not to go on war, but it doesn't mean that we'll have the same problem in future. So this is another problem. We've got dispute and misunderstanding between our Greek friends. even though some of the islands were given to Greece under the two different agreements, on the condition that they are not militarized in any way. But now some of the islands are militarized by Greece, and we believe that this is the breach of the condition, which means that the sovereignty of Greece over these islands now is going to be questionable. There is no need to protect these islands against Turkey by military, so there is no point. So what is the reason could be to militarize all these islands? Okay, coming to the effects of islands on the delimitation of maritime areas within national jurisdiction. As I stated, we believe that there is no entitlement of islands to any maritime areas, apart from the territorial waters. But anyway, I mean, even if Turkey's position has not been accepted, either by an agreement or by court decision, there is a fact that there are numerous court decisions, as I stated here. There is no entitlement of islands. Almost all of them states that, all these court decisions states that, especially the islands in the wrong side of the median line. So the Greek islands in the wrong side, which means the Turkish side, if there are islands, these islands are not going to be taken into consideration either wholly or partially, which means that they are going to be, these islands could be enclaved totally or partially. There are so many decisions. For example, one of the decisions is just in the Black Sea, the dispute between the Ukraine and the Romania. And then there is a small island of Ukraine, and this small island were not taken into consideration at all. We understand that in our dispute, most of the islands, which were Greek islands, which were in the wrong side of the median line, are going to be enclaved, mainly totally, but could be partially. This is another dispute in the agency regarding the length of territorial waters in the agency. Nowadays is the 6 nautical miles for each country. And with the 6 miles, you can see that high seas is around 50%, Turkey is around 7.5%, and Greece has got 44% of the area. But Greece would like to increase the territorial waters from 6 miles to 12 nautical miles, with the option granted to Greece under the UNCLOS. But we are not a party to the UNCLOS. We are objecting the UNCLOS just because one of the reasons, just because of this. So, if it's increased to 12 nautical miles, then high seas from 50 to 20 reduced, and Turkish position just got increased 1%, but the Greek side would gain almost 30% more, and there is going to be no high seas. And then now you can understand that Greece believes that there is only one dispute regarding the delimitation of continental shelf. But coming to that map, is there any continental shelf at all? Because all the agency now is the territorial waters of Greece. So there is no continental shelf at all. So what kind of dispute could be then? So this is the dilemma regarding the Greek approach. Greece believes that there is only one dispute regarding the continental This is the map of Eastern Mediterranean Sea right now. Everything started in the year of early 2000 because of the especially unilateral actions from the Greek side of Cyprus. They made several agreements with several states in the region, starting from Egypt, then Lebanon, then Israel. The agreement with Israel and Egypt are now valid, but not Lebanon. Lebanon is not, the agreement was not adopted by the parliament of Lebanon just because of their dispute with Israel. But anyway, I mean, this map of Greek side of Cyprus, the agreement, of course, has got some claims over Turkish continental shelf. So there is a gray area just here. So it needs to be settled. But if you would like to settle any dispute with any state, both states need to recognize themselves as state. So Turkey is quite difficult for Turkey to sit down with the Greek part of Cyprus authority. There is just one condition for Turkey. We can sit down, but only if they recognize and sit together with the Turkish part of Cyprus. So in fact, it's quite difficult. In this region, Greek Cyprus thinks that they are the actors of the region, main actor. But the main actor should be Turkey because of the coastal size of the coastal line. So they act as if Turkey was not there. And they did the bilateral agreements with other states. But the law clearly requires the cooperation with all the states in the region. Turkey, Libya, and all the countries whatsoever. So, what's the reaction of Turkey? Turkey cannot accept the Greek separate position. And at the same time, because to protect the interests of the Turkish separates, Turkey carry out some research activities and other activities in the south of the Cyprus island. So the main reason Turkey is interfering with the southern part of Cyprus islands just because of the protection of the interests of Turkish Cypriots in there. Okay, just I'm going to conclude a little bit. There are so many issues in dispute, and they are not easy to be settled in the region. According to Article 74 and 83 of the UNCLOS, all the states in the region cooperated in good faith to understand each other's concerns and, if possible, enter into provisional arrangements for the temporary joint management of disputed maritime areas. We could jointly manage the areas just by starting for the protection of the environment, protection of fishery resources together, making some efforts on the protection of irregular migrants in the region together. It's not possible yet, but Turkish believe that we need to do something together, not only with Greece, but all the countries in the region, starting from Syria to Libya, and then Greece to Syria, Turkey, whatsoever. So 10 countries should be coming together to sit down and especially talk about the temporary solutions, such as the joint management or joint development of the areas. It's believed that in the region there is a gas resources, oil resources. But as far as I know, oil and gas are the main energy resources right now. But right now, after 10 years' time, after 20 years' time, maybe we'll be using another source, energy source, like the water, because it started to be used as an energy resources. So think about the coal. We do have coal resource in Turkey, but it's not the good source right now because of the protection of mineral health. But later on, maybe we are not gonna need any gas or oil sources. And so if we are not take them out from the region, so after 10 years or 20 years time, we will be having all these disputes in vain. So this is the only thing I'd like to say. I really thank you for your listening. If you have any question, I'll be ready to answer. We are not going to need any gas.
Well, if nobody has a question or comments about Mr. Karan's presentation, we already asked some questions to Professor Karan before the presentation. So we are sure that Mr. Karan's outstanding contribution has been especially helpful for our directors, teachers, and students, and the information will be useful in the future. The International Maritime University of Panama and the University of Ankara will start working very closely, always looking for better opportunities for everyone. Again, many thanks to Mr. Karan and his team for visiting our institution. The International Maritime University of Panama, UMIP, administrative staff, and cadets appreciate your visit and your interesting presentation. Now, our vice rector is going to join us, and also our directors and students for a photo session with our distinguished visitors. Please, our directors of the schools and our vice rectors and cadets appreciate your visit and your interesting presentation. Now, our vice rector will join us, and also our directors and students for a photo session with our distinguished visitors. Please, our directors of the schools and vice rectors. Lo va a tomar Catherine. Gracias. Lo va a tomar Catherine. Gracias. Thank you all. Now, on behalf of the International Maritime University of Panama, we cordially invite Mr. Karan and his team to join our professors on a tour around the campus to visit our specialized laboratories and simulators. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much.